What can I say? I mean, if you use it, you pay for it.
Yeah, but the whole idea was when I cut the cord, I wanted to reduce my Cox bill, but it seems like it's creeping back up to where it was.
You're not using their TV service. They're going to get the money somehow.
That's right. It doesn't matter. You're going to pay for it one way or the other, right?
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Well, by the way, for you Chromebook users, I found out that the Chromebook will not really work very well, if at all, with Firefox.
Yes, and I would agree with that, Jim. And you know, if you have a Chromebook, you really don't want to be using Firefox.
Well, exactly. But sometimes I like using more than one browser, and I was used to Firefox. And I did some research and found out, nope, don't do it.
Well, now the one caveat to that, Jim, is, and on the Premiere service today that we're going to be showing at 10:30, I'm going to be demonstrating a Chromebook, and I run Linux as one of the windows that's open on Linux, and I run Firefox in Linux. So you can do it in Linux, so that's okay.
But that's true. That was one of their suggestions.
Yeah, you can run it in Linux,
but it doesn't necessarily come natively actively installed.
Right.
You have to do it.
That's right. And one of the things I said this morning to Hewie and Bob, my gosh, we talked about last time at Learning Chromebooks, we talked about the new backgrounds for on your Chromebook, and how the background app is there, and you can open that up. And I went to landscapes, and I chose the one that you get a new landscape as a background each day. Oh my God, they're gorgeous. They are absolutely spectacular, unbelievable. So I would, if you do have a Chromebook, choose the background, go to the background apps like we talked about, and then just choose the random one. There's the one there that says just change every day. It's the only problem is someone's pointed out in our meeting was they don't tell you where the picture's from. That's the problem, but they are gorgeous pictures. Oh my gosh.
If you're on a PC
service,
Gerald, go ahead.
what is your Premiere service?
The Premiere service is so what we do on, and we'll talk about that in the meeting today at 10:30. If you go to our YouTube channel, a video is starting. All right. The Premiere service means we're not charging or anything like that. It's a YouTube term, and it means that the video is scheduled to start at 10:30. All right. And so you can't see it
10:30 real time.
Yeah, 10:30 Pacific time. So if you go there, it's going to start at 1/2 the next hour, you know, like our 10:30. And what it's going to entail today is what I do with the concept of this is that we wanted to take some of our old material and recycle it and make sure everyone understood so they can use this for their computer clubs and stuff like that. So today on the Premiere service, there will be Dewey is going to be talking. Hewie's going to be talking about time and travel. Dewey is going to talk about colorizing your photographs. And I'm going to be talking about taking your Chromebook for a spin. So that will be on at 10:30. You just have to go there to the YouTube channel. You can find it on our website and just head over to the YouTube channel, and it'll automatically start at 10:30. You can watch it, and then it's a permanent video. So it's there. And the way I've cut it up and made it is it's easy for you to use in your computer clubs. If you want to, if you're interested in that topic, you can bookmark it and you can use it as a presentation. Does that answer your question, Gerald?
It did. I have one other issue. I purchased for my girlfriend a Lenovo Flex 5 2-in-1.
Great machine. Wow. She's a lucky person.
Well, yeah, well, it was on sale for $100 off.
Yeah.
They're back now to the regular price. But something very interesting happened. My girlfriend complained that the machine had gone blank. So I went over to look at it, and I used the old, escape refresh power button trick to get it back into developer mode and then back and operate again. I asked her, how did you do this? It turned out she was watching a streaming thing on the web from a religious program she watches. And there didn't have very strong audio, so she jacked up the audio a little bit. And then she made a switch to YouTube. And at that point, and I watched her do it, she went to YouTube, all of a sudden YouTube has came up with very high volume, and the machine just shut down and went blank.
Oh,
And I said, figure that may be a safety feature if you overdrive your speakers and stuff, or maybe your chip gets too hot and it shuts down automatically. So then I went through the usual routine of getting the machine back and operating again. So, and I went on the web and tried to find an answer to this problem, because I tried to, maybe you could shut down some basic YouTube audio function to decrease YouTube's volume so it doesn't happen to her again, and I couldn't find it. What she does now is that when she goes from a streaming program that she has to use high audio on, and she gets ready to go to YouTube, she then decreases the volume on her computer, and then she makes the switch, and the machine doesn't go blank or hang up anymore. So I don't know if anybody else had that problem. I couldn't find it by Googling it. Usually, most problems you can go Google and you find the answer.
Jerry, one of the things that Lenovo has a great support site. Like, they're really good with customer support. You may just want to give them a call and say, hey, what's going on with this? It's probably a feature on that particular machine. I've never heard of that before. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it may be something that, like you say, they've added into that specific machine.
Oh yeah, I believe it's a safety feature from keeping you from overdriving your speakers and perhaps overheating the CPU. I mean, I just, because my girlfriend had the problem, I discovered the problem and I came up with a solution. But I want to know if somehow you can turn down YouTube's volume before you actually log in.
Well, you can turn it down once you log in. There's actually a YouTube button that you can control the volume of the YouTube.
I know
but
that.
I don't think you can do that prior to logging in.
Okay.
Other than muting it. I guess you could just mute your sound, log in, and then see what happened, eh?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other questions? We've got about 15 minutes. We will, and then we'll be getting the show underway. For those of you who have just come into the show, we're just sitting around having coffee and yakking away here. If you have any questions, please just put up your hand. And Bob, I think you're going to do a putting up your hand video today, aren't you?
I am.
So if you don't get the putting up your hand now, you will, because Bob's got a video on it. So yes, so Bill, go ahead.
Roberta is waving her hand.
Roberta down there. Well, let's go with ladies first. Roberta, go ahead.
Okay. I was wondering if there's any news on the watch situation. You were watching for the various new versions coming out.
You're going to get bombarded today.
You're gonna get, I'm glad you ask and you shall receive, Roberta. You are asking for it. The whole show today is about watches.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm glad you brought, and I didn't pay Roberta to do that, you guys. She brought that up. It is not a paid announcement, but Bob was saying a whole show on watches, and I thought, so Roberta, I'm glad you brought that up. There you go, Bob. See, we have lots of people wanting to watch watches. Okay, there you go, Bill. Go ahead.
You're
Unmute
muted.
You're
yourself.
muted.
Now can you hear me?
A show on how to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Yeah, I had the same question, wondering if You know, is it just all vaporware if you
You
actually
see,
count
you
some
see,
stuff
Bob,
on
everyone wants to know about watches.
We'll find out next week what they have to say.
Yes, lots of talk on watches today, for sure.
How many have them?
Well, you know, I was going to do a poll on that, and I thought now Bill James, Dewey, and I all have the new Galaxy 4 watch. I was going to do a poll, but I didn't get around to making it up on, you know, who has smartwatches and are you considering buying one? You know, so they are the hottest electronic item right now. They're selling a ton of these, and so you know, lots of people want to know about them, and so Bill has one, I have one, and Dewey, and we all have the latest, the Galaxy 4 watch. I also have the Fitbit Sense. So I have two, I have both the watches, and I'm doing a bunch of videos and comparing them and lots of testing and so on and so forth. And you'll see some of that today.
It's because you have two arms.
Yes, exactly. So we'll so there's lots of information coming out about them, and you'll hear a lot of that today. And probably in the future as well, although we don't want to be doing watches every week. So bear with us if you're not a watch person.
Participant list, but
yeah, so if you're not a watch person, bear with us. Jim, go ahead. Do you have a watch? Jim, do you have a smartwatch? What one do you have?
I have the Wise,
The Wise watch. Oh, okay.
and I'm not impressed. I was wondering if you were going to cover anything about that.
No,
I'm glad it was cheap.
Yeah, well, you sort of get what you pay for, I guess. But let me say this about smartwatches in general. I don't want to start the topic right now, but you know, simply some of the basic features that they do, such as measuring your pulse, can be really helpful. You know, if your pulse is too slow or your pulse is too fast, that can indicate problems. So some of even the simpler watches, they can actually do some very impressive things. So anyway, that's the so I'm not going to say it's all bad, but again, you know, you'll see the features today, and you'll see some of the things that we're going to talk about.
Anything more than telling time is an extra.
Correct.
Yes.
Carl has his hand up.
Carl, go ahead.
Hey, I just want to thank Dewey for the great presentation you did last week on wireless and why T-Mobile is coverage is the best because they have the lower frequency mid bands. I have everywhere I go here in the north of Detroit area, Troy, Michigan, and so forth. We have 5G coverage, and it's kind of cool to talk to my fiance with the Duo, they call it. You click on it and you immediately go to a voice video call right away. That's all I had. Thanks, Dewey.
You're
Thanks a lot.
entirely welcome. I appreciate that comment.
So Carl, you mentioned using Duo. Just for those of you who don't know what Duo is a service in which is actually available across all platforms and allows you to phone your you know, your friend or whoever in Canada, United States, and it's free and it works really, really well. But the big advantage of Duo is it's cross-platform. So the Apple people can use Duo, and then Windows, Android people can use it. It's available on phones, iPhones, and all that sort of stuff. So it is a very good platform to use, Carl. So you're right. It's free. It's free.
So when you have your people set up on Duo, you do have a choice. You don't necessarily need to call them with a video call. You can just call them as a regular call. That's the option you have. So
you can do it without the video using Duo also. But I'm glad Ron, you brought that up. That I have not tried it with other platforms like Apple, and but I'm glad you brought that up. That it is a universal platform. It
is, and that's you see, FaceTime with Apple, those guys don't play fair, right? They don't want to share the FaceTime stuff, so it doesn't really work. I mean, Apple thinks everyone should have an Apple, right? It's like why would anyone else not want an Apple? But they don't. You can't if you have a Windows machine or an Android, you can't talk to FaceTime, right? So it doesn't work. So Duo does. Yeah.
Question raised in the chat was, those of you that have the new watch, have you tried the walkie-talkie feature?
I have not. I asked Dewey about that. I said we should maybe try that. So maybe Dewey and I'll we'll get that organized. But that's one of the things to test. But that's a pretty cool feature as well.
I missed that. What did you say, Bob?
The walkie-talkie feature. Has
Walkie-talkie.
anyone tried it yet? You know, and I said you and I should probably try that, eh? Get it set up. It's just one of the many features to watch. We haven't got there yet, but it just came out last Friday, so we're working hard at this. But anyway, the walkie-talkie feature will be cool. So,
Has anyone noticed that the Google search bar now has a Google Lens icon on
really?
their phone?
The which?
Google Lens icon on the right side of the Google search bar on most Androids phone.
Oh, on the phone, because I'm looking on my computer and it's not there. So it's just on the phone.
That camera feature?
Yes, Google. It's called Google Lens.
Yeah, it's great, except when you got fat thumbs and you want to just search and you get a camera.
What does it do, Dewey?
Well, I guess Ron would be better explaining than me, but the best thing I've decided is that, like, you see something familiar, whether it's a building or an object or a gift or a piece of merchandise, you can you put the Google Lens on it, it'll bring up all kinds of information about it. One way we used it is when we got back from our trip to Israel a few years ago, we had forgotten the names of some of the buildings and places we visited when we were recounting the trip. We used Google Lens, it worked great.
You just muted Dewey.
Yes?
You were muted.
Yes. You were muted. No, we heard you. We heard most of what you had to say. Yeah. Yeah. No, Google Lens will do a search and yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, my wife Karen found out on her Samsung Note 9 phone that it was in there, but she had to expand the Google window to get it to show.
Oh, to see it, eh?
Then one day it disappeared. No reason. And a couple days later it came back. So it may be something they're experimenting with.
Okay.
But in case you're interested, Google Lens is not a camera. Google Lens will give you information on the topic you're searching for. And that could be a picture, but it gives you information on the topic.
Well, we have 2 minutes left before we start. We'll be getting the show underway, and we have a big show for you today. Lots of stuff. So, Jim, did you have one final comment you wanted to make, or?
Yes, I just want to say that we were talking about video calls across platform. We've been using, much as I hate to say it, Facebook Messenger as because my kids have Apple and they FaceTime.
Yep.
But with Messenger, we can do it both ways.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Yep. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. That's great. Because Facebook Messenger certainly is an option. Jolyn, did you have one really quick question before we start?
Actually, just a quick comment. I'm here at the local computer club on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I'm thrilled. Normally, I would be in my volunteer shift, but of course, Labor Day, we're closed. So I'm in here catching up on a little bit of work. This is terrific. I haven't ever had the chance to come into the pre-show before. This is very...
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Hey, do you want to come on the show on Thursday?
Not until I get my...
Not until you get your eyes done? Okay.
Not until, and I didn't, and last week didn't go well because of the, yeah, so we're going to go check the ticker and then we'll go back and do the eye.
Okay, all right. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. It's top of the hour. Let's get this show underway. I'm going to mute all. And we're going to share my screen. And we'll get this going. Tech for Seniors, episode 76, September the 6th, one day after my birthday. Welcome to Tech for Senior. We do appreciate you being here and thank you for coming. Just to let everybody know, this is broadcast to YouTube. And so we have some guests over on YouTube as well. We are recording the show, so if you do want to come back and listen to us over and over and over again, you can certainly do that. We have a big show for you today. We are going to, the format of the show is this. We're going to, we've just had an introduction. We've had a half hour of socialization. We're going to have an hour of the show. For those of you over on YouTube, we'll be stopping the presentation about 10 minutes to the hour just before the music segment. And then we will and then the question answer will start at top of the hour at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And we have 76 people in the audience today. So if you're over on YouTube and you want to hop over to our Zoom meeting, which we are doing now, then you can participate in the Q&A. We'll do the Q&A till about 20 minutes after the hour. Then we're going to give you a little time to get up and have a walk around and a bathroom break. And at 10:30, what we talk about is the premiere service, which is usually a term that YouTube uses to schedule a video. And we have at 10:30 a video scheduled for you. And these videos that we put on are material that we covered 1 year ago. And this is made specifically for you to use in your computer clubs. And it is material that we have up on our site. And today we're going to talk, about, Hewie's going to talk about time and travel. Dewey's going to talk about colorizing your pictures. And I'm going to take a Chromebook out for a spin and tell you about how fast you can make it go and all sorts of things that's sort of cool with your Chromebook. So those three will come on at 10:30. They come on automatically. And it is it's over on our YouTube channel. So it's not a Zoom meeting. You can just go over there and you can listen to that and it'll start at 10:30. Once it's recorded on screen, then you can play it back over and over and over again. Don't forget about our show on Thursday. This is on Thursday, we have Tech for Senior Live. And it's a show where Bob, Hewie, and I and some guests get together and we talk about all the tech articles, of which there are a lot. And we post those all over to our Facebook page. So if you haven't, if you want to keep up on top of what's currently in technology, just pop over there and we post a lot of articles each day. So let me introduce everyone today and see how everyone's doing. Where the heck's Hewie? Hewie, how come you dropped to the bottom? You're on the bottom row now.
I'm not on mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I do have something I want to share with you here.
Oh,
Just
yeah?
a moment. Yeah,
Well,
yes, it was Ron's birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you
Happy
so much.
birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bob, where'd Bob go? Oh, there you are, right underneath me.
I'm still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. How the heck are you doing?
Just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's not my birthday yet.
It's not your birthday.
No.
When is your, what month is your birthday?
November.
Oh, November. Very good. And then, of course, we've got Dewey, who was telling me all about his steaks he was cooking last night on his new barbecue. And I hate it when he does that, because I said to Gail, I said, let's have steak tonight. And she said, no, I got a meal planned. And I thought, oh man, I'm really feeling like a steak after Dewey always tells me all these great jobs he does on his new infrared barbecue. So how were those steaks?
Well, as I think I mentioned, they were actually Omaha steak burgers, burgers made from steak. And they were
Right.
delicious. We actually had 2 or 3 different kinds. We had family over and it was a wonderful time.
All right, great. And Bill, where's Bill? Where's Bill? Where'd Bill go?
He's there.
He's waving.
Did you get anything? Do you want to say anything? Did you get any new tech or anything?
No, I didn't get any new gadgets, but there was some discussion last week about robotic lawnmowers.
Yeah.
Segway, the people that make the little scooters,
Yeah.
they're getting into the robotic lawnmower business, and they think they've solved the problem. Apparently, on the old models, you had to have what's called parameter wires to
Right.
guide it
Yeah.
so the thing wouldn't fall off.
That's right.
Segway is doing taking a different approach, and they're using GPS, which you go and map the yard out with your phone to
Okay.
tell the mower where to go. So I'm going to write a little article on that and put that in the newsletter for those folks that are kind of want to take a
look at it. Yeah.
curious
Well,
about it.
for
Go
sure.
ahead.
For sure, next year when the spring comes on, I'm going to certainly look at that. And that's my new project for the new year. And I can write lots of articles about that, eh, Bill?
Yes.
So that's coming up. So listen, the news this week, Lowcast. Dewey was saying, you guys mentioned anything about Lowcast. So of course, as you know, Lowcast is shut down. So what the heck happened? Well, the judge said, well, listen, you guys, you made $6 million last year. And this is supposed to be a nonprofit organization. And in fact, they were making money and reinvesting it. And he said, this doesn't look like a nonprofit organization. So he said, you can't do that. And when they stopped the revenue coming in, Lowcast said, that's it. That doesn't fit our business model. Of course, it's not supposed to be a business. It's a nonprofit organization. So they just closed the doors. So where we're going with Lowcast, or we don't know yet, but the doors are closed. Did you have anything? Well, we'll talk about that a little later. Those of you who wanted to buy a Rolex watch, you are just out of luck. There are shortages around the globe these days, from cars to microchips, but sales of the Rolex watch are up significantly, but you can't get them because of part shortages. So those of you who want to buy a Rolex watch, it isn't going to happen. Apple is coming out with their virtual reality headset. This will be out in 2022. And I'm sort of interested in this. As you know, I have the Facebook, the Quest, and the Oculus version. But their sensors are going to be pretty impressive. And this looks like a pretty impressive machine. So if you're interested in virtual reality, of course, this will be out in 2022. I got a feeling you're going to need to have an Apple device to run this on, though. So I think that's going to be, that'll certainly be interesting. Bob, are you ready to roll with your security update now?
Just waiting for you to finish with your spiel.
All right, I've finished talking. Go ahead.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending September 3rd, 2021. VEC scam swindles $2.3 million from a small U.S. town. We have fallen victim to an internet-based crime that has defrauded our taxpayers of $2.3 million, reads an August 23rd press release put out by the town administrator of Peterborough, New Hampshire. It continues, we do not believe that the funds can be recovered by reversing the transactions, and we do not yet know if the losses will be covered by insurance. The business email compromise scam was detected when Conval School District reported it had not received its monthly $1.2 million transfer from the town. Scammers had tricked town staff into diverting the funds to a criminal account. Realizing this, Peterborough administrators contacted federal authorities and the Secret Service Cybersecurity Fraud Task Force began investigating. The agency found that the money had already been converted to cryptocurrency. Peterborough town staff involved in the scam have been put on leave, though there is no suspicion that they were involved in the scheme. The Secret Service continues to investigate the matter. For more, see the record. Ragnarok ransomware shuts down and releases decryptor. The Ragnar ransomware group, a prominent force in the ransomware world since January 2020, has seemingly shut down operations, leaving behind a master key that will decrypt any file locked by its ransomware. Bleeping Computer reported that there was no note explaining the move, simply a major change to the group's website, whereas it used to post the names of its victims along with a vow to release sensitive data if those victims did not pay. The site now simply provides short instructions on how to decrypt files. Looking at the fake site, it seems like the gang did not plan on shutting down today and just wiped everything and shut down their operation, Bleeping Computer reported. The move could possibly be the result of the U.S. government's new war on ransomware. Coinbase erroneously tells customers their two-factor authentication settings had changed. Due to an internal error, cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase sent alerts to 125,000 of its customers last Friday, falsely informing them that their two-factor authentication settings had been changed. The unexpected and untrue email were sent over a period of almost 90 minutes before the error was fixed. Coinbase admitted on Twitter. Some customers were so spooked by the alert that they panic sold tens of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency. All of a sudden, the system just started sending stuff like a bug in the system. But it was not a malicious or third-party error, a Coinbase spokesperson told CNBC. 4PX botnet for sale. Operators of the 4PX botnet have ceased their activity and put the source code for the malware up for sale on the dark web. The ad claimed that the original authors of the code are no longer involved with the botnet, which is why it is now on the market. Should anyone buy the botnet, they will gain access to all previously infected machines. The record reported that for a cyber criminal, there are upsides and downsides to using a 4PX botnet. An upside is the amount of money that can be made, mainly from the cryptocurrency clipboard hijacking feature. But one major downside is that this particular botnet is not secure and can be easily hacked by other parties to be hijacked for their own interests. Arizona and Georgia adopt digital IDs in Apple Wallet. Apple announced this week that Arizona and Georgia will be the first two states to add their driver's licenses and state IDs to Apple Wallet on the iPhone and Apple Watch. The first places where customers will be able to use their wallet IDs will be participating airports. Users do not need to unlock, show, or hand over their devices to present their ID, Apple stated, explaining that customers will need only to tap their iPhone or Apple Watch at the identity reader. After Arizona and Georgia adopt the digital licenses, Apple claimed Connecticut, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Oklahoma, and Utah will follow suit. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. FTC issues first ban ever on a stalkerware company. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission recently announced a ban on the stalkerware company SpyPhone and ordered them to delete all the data they had illegally harvested from victims. Additionally, they banned the company's CEO, Scott Zuckerman, from working in the surveillance industry ever again and ordered the company to notify everyone who had the app installed on their phone. You may also find my video on this topic helpful. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. So the hackers got hacked. There's no justice, eh?
Not something I would recommend.
I love it. And also, if you probably bought that, the FBI, CIA, and everybody is going to be down your neck and freezing your assets, right? Exactly. So have you got something else for us today? You're going to tell us how to raise our hand.
Yes, I do. Hold on a second. Get you back up. Share my screen again. When you're in a Zoom meeting, sometimes you want to ask a question.
Bob, we're not seeing the video.
Wrong way to do that. Again, disrupting everyone by saying, hey, wait a minute, I got a question. Hold on. Let me do it the other way then. Come on.
So Bob's going to be showing us a video on one of the things that we always like to mention each week is how to, when you want to ask a question, how to raise your right hand and where the controls are. And we thought we'd do a video on that, or Bob thought it'd be a good idea just so everybody understands. One of the nice things about when you do raise the hand in the video, it will explain. Here we go.
When you're in a Zoom meeting, sometimes you want to ask a question, and there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. Disrupting everyone by saying, hey, wait a minute, I got a question. That's not the right way. Sometimes it works if you hold up your hand, but there's no guarantee, because if there are a lot of people in that meeting, you may not be on the main screen, which means you're not visible to the person running the meeting. So that doesn't work either. There's a sure way and a polite way to raise a hand during a meeting. If you go down to the bottom to your settings, under Reactions, select Reactions, and there's a little thing that says Raise Hand. When you click that selection, you'll notice a hand pops up in the upper left corner. It also brings you to the beginning of all the participants that are part of the meeting. So the host has no choice but to see you because you're front and center. So the next time you're in a Zoom meeting and you have a question that you'd like to ask, do it the right way and get recognized, because you'll be at the top of the list. Stay safe, enjoy your Zooming, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. The other thing it does is if you have multiple people putting their hand up, it puts them in a list, and so in sequence of who put their hand up first. So it does certainly help and brings and as for us, it brings you to the top of the list as well. All right, thanks, Bob. That was great. Now let's see what Dewey has to say about his Galaxy 4 watch. Now, I must tell you that Dewey's been working so hard at this, and in fact, he got up early this morning and just got me this presentation about half an hour ago. So it's hot off the press. We are looking forward to this. Let's see what Dewey has to say.
Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is Galaxy Watch 4 Surprises Galore. I know that many viewing this Tech Talk are iPhone owners, some of whom already own an Apple Watch or will be seriously looking at the new Apple Watch Series 7 when it's unveiled in the next week or so. Of course, an Apple Watch requires the owner to have an iPhone, and iPhone only, to work properly. Unquestionably, the Apple Watch has set the standard for wearable technology. However, the new Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 series of smartwatches is now a serious contender for Android smartphone users, and especially those with a recent Galaxy smartphone. It also costs about $100 less. The Galaxy Watch 4 Classic model that I ordered arrived last week. When I began the setup, things didn't go quite as expected. Instead, I experienced surprises galore. Surprise number one, the one-page quick start guide suggested first going to the Samsung US support web page. I went there and I found 10 support categories. None were identifiable as being for Galaxy smartwatches or wearables. Frustration. Surprise two. Next was a suggestion to visit youtube.com/Samsung Care to check out Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 videos. I found 168 videos there, but not a single one was labeled for the Galaxy Watch 4 or Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, the one I have. Frustration. Surprise three. Next, the single page quick start guide suggested downloading the tips and user manual. I found a 102-page PDF, downloaded it, and then discovered it was for the Galaxy Watch 3, an earlier model. Frustration again. Surprise four. Undeterred, I went back to the Samsung website and I did find the tips and user manual for the Galaxy Watch 4, the model I have, or the other one. I was excited. It was offered in dozens of different languages, but when I located the English version, a notation informed me that it was not yet available. Unbelievable. Frustration. I tossed the quick start guide aside and decided to have to do the setup on my own. Surprise five. After maybe a half hour, my Galaxy Watch 4C was totally locked up with 3 screens toggling in a circle. Oh, frustration. I sat back in my chair and cogitated until a shot in the dark idea came to me to call Samsung at their general customer service phone number. And you can see the number there. You might want to write the number down if you're a Samsung person. I wended my way through the phone prompts and finally reached a live technical service guy. He spoke fairly good English, but with a Filipino accent. I explained my dilemma, and he suggested one by one, perhaps a dozen different remedies to get my Galaxy Watch 4C operational once again. Not a single one worked. I suppose that was frustration too. He then asked permission, which I happily granted, to take control of my smartphone. The two of us worked in tandem for at least 20 minutes, he on my phone and I on my Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. Though he seemed to have expertise, nothing would work. Surprise number 6. Finally, took more than 20 minutes, we hit on the right sequence of actions that started a reboot of my Galaxy, my GW4C. Voila, happiness has returned. It took this Samsung dude only a few more minutes to set up the 3 necessary apps that are needed for my GW4C. These are Samsung Wearable, Samsung Health, and the Samsung Health Monitor. And you can see their logos on the right. Interestingly, only the Samsung Health Monitor app appears in my app drawer. However, my tech guy, the Samsung tech guy, showed me how to easily access the other 2 apps. I think they come loaded now, some of these, on a new Samsung phone. I've now lived with my Galaxy Watch 4 Classic for 2 entire 24-hour days, and I'm like a kid with a new toy. When I went to bed Friday night, my non-LTE version GW4C still had 72% of the battery level from its morning charge. When I awoke, The battery charge was 51%. Not too bad, I thought. After checking the health data it had generated from my night's sleep, I put it on its wireless charger to bring it back to 100%. Charging took 56 minutes, about the time it took me to get ready for the day. My GW4C health data informed me how long I'd slept, my heart rate range, and my blood oxygen saturation range. I know that the heart rate range and blood oxygen saturation range may not be exact, but are certainly close enough for me. Surprise 7. The blood oxygen saturation part of my Samsung Health app then invited me to do an actual oximeter test by holding my right finger on a sensor on the back of my nearly 4-year-old Samsung S8 phone. What? I couldn't believe it. Happiness. But here's a photo of the sensor. You can see, if you look at the back of my phone, it's in a case, and you'll see the little black arrow is pointing to that vertically rectangular part there. Actually, having an oximeter sensor on a smartphone has been around for at least a half dozen years, I've learned. The Apple Watch has always had it, and Samsung began including it as far back as the S5 and Galaxy Note 4. I just learned that in the last couple of days. A few other Android phones have the sensor, but may not work with the Galaxy Watch 4 series. Surprise 8. And if that wasn't enough, when I went to the Samsung Health Monitor app, I found that I could now do an electrical cardiogram with my GW4C. The phone screen, it shows at the left, is quite plain and simple. And that's the screen you have open when you do the test, which is outlined in the instructions. On the right, it says there, on the right, the phone screen with instructions, whoops, I misspelled instructions, didn't I? On how to do an ECG with a Galaxy Watch 4 is shown. Indeed, happiness. Now, look at the instruction. You open the Samsung Health Monitor on your Galaxy Watch. Make sure the watch is snug on your left wrist, specified left wrist. That's why I wear it. You rest your forearm on a table and lightly rest a fingertip on the top button for 30 seconds. That's how it works. Earlier in my tech talk today, I expressed frustration with the one-page quick start guide that came with my GW4C. I couldn't seem to find the getting started or setup instructions that I needed at the Samsung web addresses provided. I need to confess that when I visited this website again a few moments ago, I clicked on the mobile category, that was one of 10, which opened up 6 new categories, one of which was wearables. Wow, it hit Peter. Surprise 9. I clicked on wearables, which opened up another 6 categories, one of which was Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. This opened up these 5 categories, the first of which seems to be the right place to start. And in small print, it says, setting up your Samsung smartphone with or without, your smartwatch with or without a smart Samsung phone. So that was great. I love the looks of the analog face on my Galaxy Watch 4, see at the left, because I'm somewhat visually challenged, it didn't work for me in bed at night. I solved that problem by going to my Samsung wearable app. It takes me just 5 taps on my phone screen to change the watch face to the watch face at the right. So I do that before I go to bed, do it again when I get up in the morning. It's so quick, it takes me, I think, 10 seconds. And I've changed the face on my watch. So it's great. Happiness, again, needless to say, but my red band that I showed you previously won't arrive for a couple of weeks. Well, thanks for watching. That's my Tech Talk story for today, and I am sticking with it. Stay safe, and the good Lord willing, we'll see you next week.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dewey. I want to say that my experience was exactly the same as Dewey's. I'm absolutely amazed that a company as large as Samsung would release a product without any documentation. And I experienced the same problem of trying to get documentation because it is, I guess it's a complicated watch. It does a lot of things and you need to know how to figure out how to do them. And so the fact that there is no documentation with this device is very frustrating. Now, the good news is today, of course, Dewey gave you the initial impression of it. My video will be on fall detection and how to set it up and so on and so forth. So there will be a lot more videos there's 10, maybe probably 100 videos a day coming out on the Galaxy Watch 4 on YouTube. So there's a lot of how-to videos coming out that will be helpful for you. So help is on the way. And of course, Dewey and I will be here and have a bunch more coming out for you. Hewie, are you ready to roll?
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Podcast, the series. This is part 3. What are my favorite podcasts? I'm Hewie Poplock. This is part 3. Part 1 was what is a podcast? Part 2 is how to listen to a podcast. Be sure to view those videos as well. There are many topics for podcasts. Most of my interests lie in technology, but you can find podcasts on almost any topic you can think of. Here are some lists of some possibilities of podcasts that you may want to listen to. Over the years, my favorite podcasts have come from a group called TWIT, This Week in Tech. Their website is twit.tv, and their podcasts keep you up to date with all that's happening in the world of technology. This Week in Tech is hosted by Leo Laporte. It's your first podcast of the week, and it's the last word in tech. Join the top tech pundits in a roundtable discussion of the latest trends in high tech. It records on Sundays, but you can listen to them later that evening or anytime after that when they're posted. iOS Today is another I listen to, hosted by Micah Sargent and Rosemary Orchard. Twit's TV's podcast for all things iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and more. From app reviews to helpful tips and tricks, from the latest news to the coolest accessories, Rosemary and Micah will help you make the most of your iOS devices. The Tech Guy, no one does a better job of explaining technology, computers, and the internet than Leo Laporte. This feed contains the full content of his twice-weekly radio talk show, as heard on stations all over the U.S. on the premier radio networks. And show notes are available online. Windows Weekly is one of my favorites, hosted by Leo Laporte, Mary Jo Foley, and Paul Thurrott. A weekly look at all things Microsoft, including Windows, Office, Xbox, and more, from the two foremost Windows watchers in the world, Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com and Mary Jo Foley of All About Microsoft. All About Android is hosted by Jason Howell, Florence Ion, and Ron Richards. It's all about Android. It delivers everything you want to know about Android each week. The biggest news, freshest hardware, best apps, and geekiest how-tos with Android enthusiasts Jason Howell, Florence Ion, and Ron Richards, and a variety of special guests along the way. This Week in Google with Leo Laporte, Jeff Jarvis, Stacy Higginbotham, and Ant Pruitt. And they talk about the latest Google and cloud computing news. And then there's Tech News Weekly, which is on every Thursday. It's a weekly hosted by Jason Howell and Micah Sargent. They bring you interviews from tech journalists who make or break the top stories of the week. Jason and Micah give you more context and perspective with an in-depth look at the fast-paced world of technology and how it's changing our lives. And even though I don't listen to it, I thought I'd add this to the list to make sure that those of you who are Mac fans, Twit does have a Mac Break Weekly as well. These are the different podcasts from Twit. Now, to listen to podcasts, as I mentioned in part 2, you can listen either on iOS devices with certain applications, including the Apple Podcasts, on Android Podcasts, apps, you've got Google Podcast and others. And then there's cross-platform podcast apps, and you'll see the arrows next to the 4 that I use. I use Stitcher most of the time, only because that was the first one that I used. I have things set up in it. Here is a page from Stitcher showing the latest episodes that I have not listened to. You'll see the bottom one. You'll see a little line there that I started listening to that, and I've gotten that far where that little line is at the bottom. I can click on the arrow and listen to any. If I click on the first one, it will then, when it finishes, go to the next one. Here are some of the Stitcher subscriptions that I have for podcasts. Here are some that I don't, but just to give you an idea that there are other topics other than technology. My favorite podcast is Tech Meme Ride Home, which is a daily technology and tech news podcast featuring Brian McCullough. And it's every day at 5 p.m. live, but within a few hours, it's online, and you can listen to it on any of the podcast services. And it's from techmeme.com, which is Silicon Valley's most read news source. It's 15 minutes, and you're up to date. Android Central Podcast is another weekly technology and news podcast, which features Alex Doby, Andrew Martinick, and Jerry Hildebrand. It's a podcast about Android for everyone. It's a weekly show about Android, Google, and the best mobile technology. And it is hosted by Daniel Bader. Cord Killers, watch what you want, where you want, when you want, on whatever device you please. Take control of your TV, movies, and more. And this is hosted by Brian Bushwood. The Vergecast is a weekly technology, tech news, and news podcast featuring Nilay Patel. This is the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of The Verge. Every Friday, they make sense of the week's tech news with help from their wide-ranging staff. And on Tuesdays, Nilay hosts an in-depth one-on-one interviews with major technology leaders. The Clark Howard Podcast. Save more and spend less is more than just a motto for money expert Clark Howard. It's a way of life. Clark and his crew, Team Clark, are on a mission to empower people to take control of their personal finances by providing money-saving tips, consumer advice, hot deals, and economic news to help everyone achieve financial freedom. Clark is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host and a consumer reporter for television stations around the country. His podcast, The Clark Howard Show, receives more than 1 million downloads each month and is a hub for listeners to get valuable advice on demand at any time. Kim Commando Explains, award-winning radio host, nationally syndicated columnist, and digital lifestyle expert Kim Commando breaks down the hottest topics in tech. Get insider secrets to protect yourself online, make money from home, secure your devices, avoid scams, and more. The GizWiz is a weekly technology and gadgets podcast featuring Dick DeBartolo and Chad Johnson. Dick Bartolo is known as Mad's maddest writer. He's a writer for Mad Magazine and also for the GizWiz. Each episode features silly, unique, and crazy gadgets and gizmos, fan videos, letters, and more. The Chromebook Classroom Podcast is a weekly education and technology podcast focusing on sharing how Chromebooks are impacting education around the world. It's hosted by author and trainer John Sowash, who interviews a variety of guests who share their Chromebook classroom experience. Taking Note, Conversation with Evernote, is presented by the leader in note-taking and productivity. It's all about Evernote. Pod News, Podcasting News, a daily news, podcasting, and technology podcast featuring James Kryland. Practical Chrome is another, which is a weekly technology, podcasting, and tech news podcast. Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl Miriam Girard is a weekly technology, news, and gadgets podcast. Many times it's a lot deeper than I want to go, but there are a lot of really good items on his podcast. I got screen captures from Podchaser, which is a daily source for podcast discovery. So if you want to look for podcasts, that's a good place to go. And finally, I do want to mention Cybersecurity with Bob G., our own Bob G. from Tech for Senior. It's a weekly podcast on cybersecurity news, tips, and updates. This has been Podcasts, the series. Part 3, What Are My Favorite Podcasts? I'm Hewie Poplock. I hope you have enjoyed this 3-part series. And there you go.
Unmute myself. Thanks so much, Huey. That was great. That was really, really interesting. We have to move ahead quickly. Comments, remember, can come in the question and answer period. I'm sure there will be lots. I have some for you. But let's get moving on with the next segment here. And we'll be... It's Ron Brown with Tech for Seniors. Yes, the Galaxy Watch 4 is out. I got mine last Friday, 4 days ago, and I'm putting it through the paces. Today, we're going to talk about fall detection. Now, I have an upcoming video called The Misunderstood Galaxy 4 Watch. I got the name of this from the last video I made, which was a very popular one called The Misunderstood Fitbit Sense Watch. Now, as a full disclaimer, I purchased the Fitbit Sense and the Galaxy 4 watch with my hard-earned retired money. I don't get paid to sponsor this video. These opinions are my own. So in this upcoming video, I'm going to do something special, and you'll be sure and want to watch this before purchasing this watch. I'm going to look at the 5 health features from a physician's point of view. I'm going to describe what is the health feature, how does it work, and from a medical point of view, based on my 35 years as a clinical physician working in the emergency department, delivering babies, and in the hospital, I'm going to tell you my personal point of view on what I feel about this feature. And you remember the routine. If you like this video, please click the like, and if you want to see more of them, please subscribe. Fall detection. What is it? Well, in order to have fall detection in a device, you need an accelerometer. This is a little chip that goes in the device that you're purchasing. And in this case, it's a watch. And you'll see an example on the diagram, and particularly up on the right corner of a chip on an accelerometer on a device. The accelerometer measures gravity and movement and can identify if you have a fall through the software. Pretty cool. Now, the Fitbit Sense cannot do this. It does not have an accelerometer, so it can't do fall detection. The Apple Watch can, and the Galaxy 4 watch can as well. So let's look at how this works. All right, how does fall detection work? Well, there's the act of falling, and people can fall either forward, backward, or sideways. And as a result of the fall, the accelerometer through the software identifies this and then sends emergency notification through your phone. All right, I want you to stop right there. Before you decide to use this technology for your loved one to identify a fall or a life-saving event, I want you to be sure and watch this video. This is a video that I found in my research, and this is the YouTube site is called All Star Space, and I'll put the link in the notes below, but I've given you the link on the screen to the video that I want you to watch. In this video, this couple decided to test the actual ability of these devices to identify a fall. And they used two devices, one on each arm. One was the Apple Watch 5 and the other was the Galaxy Watch 3. And so they had a watch on each wrist, and they had mats out, and they tried to mimic falls and have the watch go off and see what type of falls would be recorded. And they found some very interesting information. Now, I'm going to tell you, don't do this. This could cause injury and really harm to yourself. I tried it a couple of times, and I'm sitting on a big bruise. I'm not going to show it to you because it's embarrassing. Now, here's the deal. They found that the identification of the fall and the type of movement that caused the fall was quite different between both watches. So the type of movement that would trigger a fall on the Apple Watch was actually different than the type of movement that would cause a fall with an identification on the Galaxy Watch. Two different approaches. Now, the second thing that they found was it wasn't that easy to make the watch go off. In other words, they had to fall pretty hard and try pretty hard to make this work. So, does this technology really work for our loved ones? Well, we don't know that. Certainly Apple tells us it does, and Galaxy and Samsung tells us it does, but there is no clinical trial or any body of evidence that really says this technology works. Now, Apple has had the ability to detect falls for a number of years now, and there is plenty of anecdotal information on the wire service that says, yes, I fell, I used the Apple Watch to get the ambulance there, and it saved my life. But when you sell 100 million watches a year, you would expect that to occur. So how valid is this type of technology? You must watch this video before you purchase this watch if you're looking to use it for fall detection. This is so important. It's a real eye-opener. The fall detection feature is not turned on by default on the Galaxy Watch 4, so you'll need to turn it on manually if you want to use it. It can only be enabled through the Galaxy Wearable app, so make sure the watch is connected to the mobile device first. Now, you'll see in the image today, you'll see that this is the display that you're going to see on your phone, and you'll see that we're going to go down to the advanced features and click on that. And you'll see it says Home Key SOS Gestures. So once we click on that, we'll see the next menu come up here, and you'll see at the top it says SOS. I want you to click that. Now at the top, you'll see two options that you have. You have the ability to manually send an SOS. And this is when you click the home button, which is the top button on the right-hand side of the watch, 3 times. And this will send an emergency alert. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You can turn this on or off. So this would give you the ability, if you fell and it didn't send the alert, that you would be able to manually send an alert. The second, of course, toggle switch is when you fall. So if you don't turn this on, it won't work. So this must be turned on to detect a fall. Then as we move down the list, you'll see who to send the emergency notification to. All right, so we're going to look at this, and we're going to send, of course, I'm going to send the emergency notification in the form of a text message to my wife, Gail Brown. You may also choose the same person to send an SOS call, but you could also define that as 911. So in the case of emergency, when an alert was sent, it would send it to 2 locations. One would be, of course, 911, and the other one would be your whoever you've defined for the emergency notification. Now, the SOS with the home key, this requires the use of the device's location. So when you send an SOS from your watch, your location is shared with your emergency contacts so they know where you are. Now you can disable the collection and processing of your location information at any time by turning off this function. So after a fall, your watch will alert you for 60 seconds with a pop-up sound and vibration. You can cancel the alert or swipe to send the SOS right away. If you don't respond for 60 seconds, the SOS message will be sent to the emergency contacts that you have set up in the Galaxy Wearable app. So let's see how this works. In order to send an emergency notification with your watch, you have to be connected to your phone. This connection is a Bluetooth connection. So this provides all the limitations for Bluetooth connections. Let's look at your watch. First of all, your watch must be worn and it must be charged. So if you've taken your watch off and you leave it by the bedside table at night, this isn't going to work, because when you get up to have a pee in the night and you fall, your watch must be on. So you must have the ability to charge your watch. In other words, you have to take it off, put it on the wireless charger and charge it, and you must do that once a day. Now the connection to your phone, as I said, is through Bluetooth. So your phone must be in an immediate area that you're in, not in the car, in the garage, or out on the street. So you must actually have your phone, and your phone must be turned on. It could be sitting in a wireless charging stand, but it must be turned on and connected to a charged watch on your wrist. Now the other option that you should seriously consider is purchasing the watch as an LTE version. And this LTE version has an eSIM in it. What we mean by an eSIM, this is actually a chip that's in the watch, so you physically don't actually have to put a SIM card in. So the question comes up with these LTE versions is, would you need to have a smartphone, or would they be standalone? And this is a difficult question, and it probably depends where in the world and what country you're in and what service that you're connecting to. It is certainly possible that they could be standalone devices and not needing a cell phone, but that would be dependent on how the individual provider would be configuring the device. Currently, to activate the phone, you need to send a code from a smartphone, and this pairs the two together. But it would be possible to send the to actually have this device activate itself, and I expect in some parts of the world and some services this will likely occur. All right, what is my recommendation as a physician based on this evidence? Well, there's no clinical data to support that this actually works. It's interesting when I looked at Samsung's marketing material today that there's no mention of fall detection at all. Also, the Fitbit Sense does not have an accelerometer in it. Most of the information we have about this is anecdotal information from the Apple Watch. The watch requires to be connected to a cell phone through Bluetooth. Both must be charged and on. They both must be worn 24/7. The Galaxy 4 will require daily charging, and the technology is complicated, and you'll carefully need to select who you're going to choose this. Consider an LTE version. You may look at exploring some simpler options for some people. Just remember that the Amazon Echo products all have emergency notification, as does the Google Nest, and ADT has a very extensive emergency notification devices that you can wear, such as a watch or a pendant around your neck. So there are other ways of simpler technology than using fall detection on a watch. Well, thanks for watching Fall Detection on the Galaxy 4 watch. And be sure and watch my upcoming video called The Misunderstood Galaxy 4 Watch. In that, I'm going to talk about ECG, blood pressure, oximetry, and snoring with the diagnosis of sleep apnea. More to come. The Misunderstood Galaxy 4 watch. I should have it out probably this next week, and I'll put the link in the show notes when it's out. So until we see you again, Ron Brown from Tech for Senior. All right, that's great. Ray, are you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to just say goodbye to our YouTube members. Thank you for watching. If you want to come over, we have lots of room over here on the Zoom meeting. If you want to come over for the Q&A and listen to Ray's segment, come on over. Bob will let you in. If not, we'll see you again in another week. I will let